your life starts to shift the very moment you decide to look for solutions instead of staring at problems. Most people don't notice it, but they spend their whole day locked inside what is wrong. They replay the same thoughts. They complain. They wait for something outside of them to magically fix everything. And the more attention they give to the problem, the bigger and heavier it feels. That is why progress seems so distant. Why change feels impossible. Because the focus is pointed in the wrong direction. If you keep feeding the problem with your energy and attention, you will keep getting the same results. In this video, you are going to learn how to train your mind to focus on solutions and not on problems. You will see how to take back the remote control of your thoughts, how to stop letting your emotions drive the car, and how to start building a life where you feel in charge again. Think about how you normally react when something goes wrong. You lose a client. Someone lets you down. Plans fall apart at the last minute. Do you immediately sink into, "Why me?" Do you start listing everything that is unfair? Do you replay the situation again and again in your head, making it feel worse each time? That is the default pattern for many people. The problem shows up, and they give it all of their focus, all of their words, all of their emotional energy. They talk about how bad it is. They tell it to their friends. They scroll on their phone to escape. But they are still thinking about it in the background. And what you feed with your focus grows. The shift begins when you make a different choice. When something goes wrong and you pause for a second, you breathe. And instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What can I do with this?" You switch from victim to creator in one question. The situation might be exactly the same, but the role you play inside that situation is completely different. In the victim role, you are powerless. You wait. You complain. You feel stuck. In the creator role, you start looking for even the tiniest next step. You say, "Okay, this is not what I wanted, but what can I learn here? What is the next move I can make today?" That one question already lifts you above the problem. Your mind is like a spotlight. Where you point that light, everything becomes clearer, stronger, more real. If your spotlight is always on what is missing, on what is wrong, on what other people did to you, that is all you will ever see. It doesn't mean the problem is not real. It just means you are only looking at one side of reality. There is always another side. What you can do next. What is still in your control. What lesson you can take. People who move forward in life are not the ones with no problems. They are the ones who have trained their spotlight to come back to solutions again and again. This does not mean pretending that everything is perfect. It is not about lying to yourself. It is not about ignoring your pain, your anger, or your disappointment. It is about deciding that you will not live there. You can visit those emotions. You can feel them. You can process them. But you do not build your home inside them. You acknowledge what hurts. And then you ask, "Now what? Now what can I do? Now what can I control? Now what new action can I take?" Even if it is small. There is a huge difference between saying, "This always happens to me," and saying, "This is difficult, but I can handle it." The first sentence locks you in. The second sentence opens a door. Your brain listens carefully to the language you use. If you constantly tell yourself that nothing ever works, that you are unlucky, that the world is against you, your brain will find proof to match that story. But if you start telling yourself a different story, if you begin to say, "I can figure this out. I am learning. I am getting stronger through this," your brain will slowly start looking for proof of that instead. You might be thinking, "But you don't know my situation. You don't know what I went through. You don't know what people have done to me. And you are right. Your pain is real. Your past is real. The unfair moments, the mistakes, the betrayals, they all happened. This is not about denying any of that. This is about deciding what you are going to do now. With the part of your life that is still in front of you. You cannot rewrite yesterday. But you can absolutely rewrite the story you live from today onward. There is one decision that changes everything. The choice to take full responsibility for what you do from this moment on. Not responsibility for what someone did to you years ago. Not responsibility for the decisions your parents made. Not responsibility for the system, for the economy, for the way the world operates. Responsibility for your next move, for how you show up today, for what you say to yourself when you wake up, and for the actions you take before you go to sleep. Responsibility is not about blame. Blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility sets you free. Blame says, it's their fault, so I can't do anything. Responsibility says, maybe it is not my fault, but it is still my life. So I will decide what happens next. That is the difference between staying trapped in the same cycle and slowly building a new one. And here is the honest truth. Taking responsibility is hard. It is uncomfortable. It forces you to face yourself. But it is also the door to your power. The moment you fully decide, I am responsible for what I build from here. You stop waiting for rescue. You stop fantasizing that someday your circumstances will magically transform without your effort. You stop handing your power to people who hurt you, to events you cannot change, to a past that is already finished. You begin to reclaim that power, piece by piece, choice by choice. You will not be perfect at this. You will still complain sometimes. You will still slip into old patterns. That is okay. Growth is not about never falling. It is about refusing to stay on the ground. Every time you catch yourself focused only on the problem, you gently pull your attention back to the question, what can I do now? Every time you hear yourself saying, there is nothing I can do, you challenge that thought. Maybe you cannot fix everything today. But there is always some small action within your reach. A conversation you can have. A habit you can start. A habit you can stop. A thought you can question. Over time, those small choices stack up. They become momentum. They become confidence. They become a quiet inner voice that says, I don't run from problems anymore. I rise above them. I look for a way through. That is where real strength comes from. Not from having a perfect life with no challenges, but from becoming the kind of person who knows they can handle the challenges that come. It all starts with a decision, a real one, the kind of decision where you draw a line and say, from today on, I am responsible for my life. Not only when it is easy, not only when I feel motivated, every day. You will still fail. You will still mess things up. But if you keep showing up, keep learning, keep taking ownership of your effort, you will keep growing. And that is what matters in the end. You do not have to transform everything today. You just have to own your next step, and then the one after that. Because once you make it a habit to take responsibility for your choices, your mindset changes. You become someone who builds instead of waits. Someone who solves instead of avoids. That is what it truly means to focus on solutions. That is what it truly means to take responsibility for what happens from now on. Your time starts in this exact moment. Not tomorrow. Not when life becomes convenient. Now, show up. Own your path. Be the reason your life moves forward. Never forget this. Your future is being built by what you do today. Not tomorrow, not someday when things are easier, but today. Every action you take is like a small vote for the kind of life you are going to live. When you really understand that, the way you use your attention starts to matter a lot more, because your focus is the starting point of every action. Your life is always drifting in the direction of your focus. If your attention lives in what is missing, what is broken, what hasn't worked yet, your mind will quietly start building patterns around that. You begin to feel trapped, not because there are no options, but because your inner dialogue is just replaying what is wrong on a loop. It is not that you are weak or lazy. It is that your attention has been trained to stare at the problem instead of searching for the path forward. Think about how most people start their day. The alarm goes off, and before they even take a breath, their mind jumps straight to everything that is stressful. The messages they have to answer. The bills they have to pay. The mistakes they made yesterday. Maybe they grab their phone and start scrolling, feeding their brain more noise and more reasons to feel behind. Their focus is being programmed before they have even gotten out of bed. And then they wonder why the whole day feels heavy and out of control. If you want your life to change, you have to train your focus on purpose. You can no longer allow it to wander wherever your emotions send it. Imagine your attention like a camera lens. Wherever you aim it, that part of your reality becomes sharp and bright, while everything else fades into the background. If you aim that lens at problems all day, problems will dominate your experience. But if you aim it at solutions, opportunities, and the next step you can take, the picture of your life begins to transform. This doesn't mean you pretend that everything is fine when it isn't. You are not lying to yourself. You are not denying your pain or your frustration. You are simply refusing to give all your mental energy to something that keeps you stuck. You acknowledge what hurts, you see what is not working, and then you deliberately shift the question from "why is this so bad?" to "what can I do with this?" That small change in question is the beginning of training your focus. Your mind works like a search engine. Whatever question you type in, it will start looking for answers. If you keep asking, "Why am I such a failure? Why does nothing ever work out for me?" your brain will dig up every memory and every moment that seems to prove that story true. But if you start asking, "What can I learn here? What tiny action could move this forward today? What is one thing that is still good in my life right now?" your mind will begin to search for completely different answers. Training your focus means you stop letting questions run on autopilot. You become intentional. You catch yourself in the middle of a negative loop and interrupt it. For example, when you hear yourself thinking, "everything is going wrong," you pause and ask, "is that really true? Or are a few things going wrong while other things are still working?" When your mind says, "there is nothing I can do," you push back with, "if I had to find one small thing I could do, what would it be?" You are not waiting for motivation. You are giving your mind new directions. You can even practice this in a simple, practical way. At some point in your day, sit down with a piece of paper. On the top, write the main problem that is stressing you out. Underneath, instead of writing all the reasons it is unfair or impossible, force yourself to write 10 possible moves you could make. They do not have to be perfect. They do not even have to be big. They just have to exist. Maybe you could send an email, ask someone for advice, learn a specific skill, set a boundary, change one small habit, or simply decide how you want to respond emotionally. By doing this, you are teaching your brain. When a problem appears, we look for options, not excuses. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. Your old patterns will pull you back. You will catch yourself complaining, overthinking, or telling the same story again and again. Do not use that as proof that you are failing. Use it as proof that you are finally becoming aware. Before, you were doing all of that on autopilot. Now you are starting to notice. That awareness is the first sign that your focus is waking up, that you are no longer asleep inside your own habits. Think about the people you know. You probably have at least one friend who can turn anything into a disaster in their mind. Give them a small challenge, and they will stretch it into a catastrophe. Their focus is trained to look for what could go wrong. But you might also know someone who, when things go sideways, immediately starts looking for a workaround. They are not special or lucky. They have just practiced aiming their attention at what can be done instead of what cannot. The difference between those two people is not the size of their problems. It is the direction of their focus. On this channel, Momentum Audiobooks, that is exactly what we are practicing together. The skill of using your mind in a way that actually supports your growth. Not toxic positivity, not fake smiles, but real mental discipline. The discipline to say, yes, this situation is hard, but my attention is going to the part one can influence. My focus is going to the solution, not the drama. As you keep doing this, something powerful starts to happen. The problems in your life do not magically disappear, but the way you experience them changes. A challenge that used to throw you off for weeks now bothers you for a day, or a few hours, or maybe just a few minutes. You bounce back faster because your mind is trained to ask better questions. You feel stronger because you are no longer a passive observer of your own thoughts. You are the one steering them. Over time, this creates momentum. You begin to trust yourself more because you see that you are no longer stuck in endless cycles of complaining. You see yourself taking small steps, making small improvements, and turning breakdowns into breakthroughs. You become the kind of person who builds instead of breaks, who moves forward instead of waiting for life to rescue them, who uses their attention to follow growth instead of chaos. This is what it looks like to take back control of your mind. This is what it looks like to take back control of your results. When you train your focus, progress is not an accident anymore. It becomes a natural consequence of the way you think and the way you act. And once your focus is pointed in the right direction, there is one more crucial move you need to make. You have to act before fear grows so big that it paralyzes you. We will talk about that in the next part, because timing matters. If you wait too long, fear will turn a simple step into an impossible mountain. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is just fast. It shows up before logic, before courage, before your best self has even had a chance to speak. That is why if you give fear too much time, it will talk you out of every step that could change your life. You already know this feeling. You get an idea, you feel a spark, you think, I should do this, and for a few seconds it feels possible. Then your mind starts listing every risk, every way you could be judged, every way it might go wrong. The energy disappears. You close the tab, put the phone away, and tell yourself you will try again someday. Here is the truth most people never learn. The longer you wait to act, the louder fear becomes. There is a small window between the moment you feel a push to do something and the moment your mind talks you out of it. If you use that window, you move forward. If you waste it, you stay exactly where you are. Your life right now is filled with moments where you hesitated, where you let fear drive, where you chose the comfort of staying the same instead of the discomfort of taking a step. Think about how many times this has happened to you. You wanted to send a message, but you overthought every word until you deleted it. You wanted to ask for that opportunity, but you convinced yourself you were not ready. You wanted to start a project, but you told yourself it was not the right time. On the surface, it looked like a harmless decision. In reality, it was fear, dressed up as logic, stealing a tiny piece of your future. If you want real momentum in your life, you have to start moving before fear builds its story. Action first, excuses later. When your mind says you should reach out to that person, you count down in your head, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you do it before you have time to negotiate with yourself. When you feel the urge to stand up and work on your goals instead of scrolling, you stand up immediately, even if you do not feel like it. You stop waiting for a perfect wave of motivation and you replace it with a simple rule. If it matters to your future, you act within seconds, not months. This is one of the most powerful habits you can build. Not because every action will work perfectly, but because every action teaches your brain a new identity. Each time you move despite fear, you are sending yourself a clear message: I am someone who follows through. I am someone who does the hard thing, even when I feel uncomfortable. Over time, that identity becomes stronger than the fear. You begin to trust yourself, not because you repeat affirmations in the mirror, but because you have real evidence that you do what you say you will do. Of course, fear will not disappear. It will still whisper in your ear. It will still point to your past failures, your insecurities, your worst memories. But now, instead of sitting down and listening, you let fear talk while you move your feet. You answer emails with shaky hands. You record the video even if your voice trembles. You walk into the room even if your heart is racing. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision that moving toward your future matters more than staying safe in your past. On Momentum Audiobooks, we are not here to pretend that confidence is some magic you either have or you do not. Confidence is built like a muscle, through repetition, through small reps, through thousands of tiny moments where you feel afraid and take the step anyway. The more reps you put in, the easier it becomes to act fast when it matters. One day you look back and realize that situations that used to terrify you now feel normal. The only thing that changed was the number of times you chose action over hesitation. To make this practical, start paying attention to your hesitation gap. That is the slice of time between the thought, "I should do this," and the moment you start coming up with reasons not to. When you notice that gap, shorten it on purpose. Do not sit with it, do not analyze it, do not ask 10 people for their opinion. Just do the next small step. If the idea is to work on your project, open the document and write for 5 minutes. If the idea is to message someone, send a simple, honest line instead of crafting the perfect paragraph. If the idea is to take care of your health, put on your shoes and walk out the door. You are not trying to change your whole life in one move. You are trying to change your default reaction. Right now, your default might be to freeze, to delay, to escape into distractions. You can reprogram that. You can build a new habit where your default is to do something small that moves you forward. Even if the step is tiny, it breaks the spell of fear. It reminds you that fear is just a feeling, not a prison guard. It reminds you that the story in your head is not stronger than the action in your hands. Think about the last big decision you made that actually improved your life. Maybe it was starting a new job, ending a toxic situation, investing in yourself, moving to a new place, or simply deciding to take your mental health seriously. Before that decision, there was probably a moment where you were scared. You did not know how it would turn out. But you chose to act anyway, and that single choice opened a new chapter. That is the power of small, scary moves. They are doors disguised as discomfort. If you only act when you feel ready, you will stay stuck for years. Readiness is a myth your brain uses to keep you safe. The truth is, you become ready while you are moving. You learn by doing. You grow by trying, failing, adjusting and trying again. When you understand that, taking action while you are still scared feels less like a mistake and more like a strategy. You realize that the people you admire are not fearless. They are just willing to walk with fear instead of waiting for it to vanish. So the next time you feel that spark of inspiration, treat it like a limited time offer. You want to send that email? Do it now. You want to start that side project? Open the file now. You want to speak up? Say the first clear sentence now. Do not give fear a 15-minute head start, because it will use that time to bury your idea under doubt. You owe your future more than that. You owe your future the version of you who acts, not the version who overthinks until the opportunity is gone. When you start living this way, something shifts inside you. You stop seeing yourself as the person who always talks about what they will do one day. You start seeing yourself as someone who moves. Someone who does. Someone whose actions match their words. Other people may not notice the change immediately, but you will. You will feel it every time you choose the small, uncomfortable step instead of the familiar, comfortable excuse. This is how you build momentum, not just in your goals, but in your identity. Every quick action is like adding one more brick to a new version of you. A version that trusts their own decisions, that respects their own time, that does not wait around for perfect conditions. And once you start to see yourself that way, your standards for your life naturally rise. You stop tolerating the habits and patterns that keep you small. In the next part, we are going to take this even deeper. Because action alone is not enough if you are still dragging a heavy, negative story about yourself into every step you take. If you secretly believe you are not good enough, not smart enough, or not the kind of person who succeeds, you will sabotage your progress even while you are working hard. So stay with me, because next we are going to talk about rewriting that story from the inside, so your actions and your identity finally move in the same direction. Setbacks are not a sign that you are broken. They are a normal part of being alive. Every person you admire has been knocked down, ignored, underestimated, or rejected more times than you can imagine. Life does not stop to ask for your permission before it shakes your plans. Things fall apart without warning. Projects fail. People change their mind. You make a decision that seemed right and it still goes wrong. But here is the key truth most people never practice. Your growth is not defined by the setback itself. It is defined by how you respond to it. You cannot control every event that shows up in your life, but you can always decide what you do next. That tiny space between what happened and what you choose to do about it is where all your power lives. That is the space that builds or destroys your progress. When you take full ownership of your reaction, you stop letting random circumstances write your story. You become the one who decides whether a problem becomes a wall or a lesson. Think about your usual reaction when something goes wrong. Maybe a plan collapses at the last minute, or someone you trusted lets you down, or you fail at something you were sure you could handle. Do you instantly jump into complaining and telling everyone how unfair it is? Do you replay the situation again and again in your head, making it bigger each time? Do you scroll for hours to numb the feeling, while the frustration keeps growing quietly in the background? It may feel natural, but those reactions are not neutral. Every time you repeat them, you are training your brain to stay stuck. Blaming, overthinking, and self-pity might feel good for a moment, because they take the pressure off you. If everything is someone else's fault, then you do not have to change anything. But that comfort comes with a price. When you choose blame as your main reaction, you also choose to give away your power. You hand control of your emotional state to other people, to timing, to luck. And as long as they are in charge, you will always feel like life is just happening to you. Ownership looks very different. Ownership starts with one simple habit: pause. Something happens, you feel the emotional wave rise, and instead of immediately reacting, you give yourself a second to breathe. You do not pretend the pain is not there. You do not force yourself to smile. You simply refuse to let the first impulse make the decision for you. That tiny pause is where maturity begins. It is the moment where you shift from "why is this happening to me?" to "who do I want to be in this moment?" Ask yourself a few honest questions. What am I feeling right now? What story am I telling myself about this situation? Am I turning this into an identity problem, like, "this always happens to me, I never get it right"? Or am I looking at it as a moment in time that I can learn from? Then go deeper. If I reacted as my strongest self, what would I do next? Would I send a message to clarify things? Would I ask for feedback? Would I try again with a better plan? Would I walk away from a situation that clearly disrespects me? When you ask questions like that, you are no longer a victim of your reactions. You are leading them. You are teaching your brain a new pattern. We do not just explode, shut down, or escape. We observe, we learn, we decide. That does not mean you will always pick the perfect response. You will still say things you regret sometimes. You will still get defensive or angry. But the difference is that you are now aware, and awareness gives you the power to adjust. Taking ownership of your reactions is not about suppressing your emotions. Suppression only pushes the pain deeper, where it turns into resentment or anxiety. Ownership is about managing emotion instead of being managed by it. It is about letting yourself feel the hurt without letting the hurt drive the car. You can say to yourself, "I am really disappointed right now, and that is okay, but I am still responsible for what I do next." That mindset protects both your heart and your future. On Momentum Audiobooks, we talk about real growth, not fake toughness. Real strength is not pretending you are fine when you are clearly struggling. Real strength is being honest about the struggle while still choosing a response that serves your long-term future. Anyone can react impulsively when life hits hard. It takes real character to slow down, breathe, and choose the response that matches the person you are becoming, not just the emotion you are feeling. Look back at moments in your life where things went really wrong. Maybe you lost a job, ended a relationship, missed a big opportunity, or discovered that someone had betrayed your trust. Remember how you reacted. Did you shut down for weeks? Did you try to escape into distractions? Did you attack yourself with harsh words and call yourself a failure? Or did you eventually reach a point where you said, "This hurts, but I am not going to let it define me. I am going to learn what I need to learn and move forward"? That second response is ownership. That second response is the one that quietly builds your future. From now on, when you face a setback, try this simple framework. First, describe the situation in one clear sentence, without drama. Something like, "I did not get the promotion," or "the project failed," or "they ended the relationship." Second, name your emotion honestly. "I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel embarrassed, I feel scared." Third, ask yourself, what is one constructive thing I can do in the next 24 hours? Maybe you can ask for feedback, fix a mistake, have an honest conversation, plan your next move, or simply take care of yourself so you can think clearly again. These steps sound simple, but they are powerful because they pull you out of the emotional storm and put you back in the position of choice. You are no longer trapped in an endless loop of "why me?" You are directing your energy toward "what now?" And over time, that repeated choice becomes your new default. You start to trust that even when life knocks you down, you will not stay on the floor. You will feel the pain, you will respect it, and then you will stand up and do something with it. Setbacks are also messages. They show you where your skills, your boundaries, or your expectations need an upgrade. A failed project might reveal that you need better planning. A broken relationship might reveal patterns you keep repeating. A rejected idea might reveal that you need to communicate more clearly or build more experience. If you only react with anger or shame, you miss those lessons. But when you take ownership, you turn every difficulty into information that can make you wiser. This mindset does not make life easy, but it makes you strong. Strong enough to stay grounded when things fall apart. Strong enough to keep your standards when others lose theirs. Strong enough to walk through disappointment without losing respect for yourself. That is what it really means to lead your life instead of being dragged by it. You are not just reacting to events. You are guiding your reactions in a direction that matches who you want to be. So the next time something goes wrong, remember this moment. Remember that you have a choice. You can run the old script of blame, drama, and self-pity, or you can pause and choose ownership. You can ask better questions, take a better step, and write a better story. The situation might still be hard. The pain might still be real. But your reaction can either lock you inside that pain or become the first step out of it. Owning your reaction will not make you perfect, but it will make you powerful. Because when you can lead yourself well in the worst moments, you become unstoppable in the best ones. Life will still throw challenges at you, but you will meet them with a calm mind, a steady heart, and a clear sense of direction. That is what it truly means to take full ownership of how you react to setbacks. It starts with the very next challenge you face. And it starts with you. Your identity is the quiet script running in the background of your life. It is the story you tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, and what you are capable of. Most people never question that story. They think it is simply the truth. But in reality, it is mostly a collection of old experiences, random comments from other people, and beliefs you absorbed when you were too young to argue with them. If you want to build a new future, you cannot carry an old, heavy story into it and expect to feel light. Maybe you grew up hearing things like, "You are not the smart one," or "You always mess things up," or "People like us do not succeed at that level." Maybe you went through a few painful experiences and decided, without even realizing it, "I am the kind of person who always gets hurt," or "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I am just not good enough." These sentences do not just sit in your mind. They shape your choices. They become filters that twist how you see yourself and your opportunities. When you secretly believe you are not capable, every challenge feels bigger than it is. When you secretly believe you are unworthy, every rejection feels like proof. When you secretly believe you are destined to fail, every mistake becomes a confirmation of that belief. In that state, it does not matter how many strategies you try or how hard you work. Some part of you is always pulling the brakes, sabotaging progress because it does not match the story you are living in. This is why it is so important to pause and ask yourself a simple but powerful question. What story about myself am I still carrying that does not deserve to come with me into my future? Be honest. Maybe you tell yourself that you are lazy, when in reality you were never taught how to manage your energy. Maybe you tell yourself that you are bad with money, when you simply never learned how to handle it wisely. Maybe you tell yourself that you are socially awkward, when what you really feel is fear of being judged. The goal is not to blame your past. The goal is to see it clearly so it stops controlling you in secret. You cannot change what you refuse to look at. On Momentum Audiobooks, we are here to shine light on those quiet, automatic stories, not to shame you, but to show you that you can rewrite them. Your past shaped you, but it did not finish you. You are allowed to upgrade the way you see yourself. Start by listening to your self-talk in difficult moments. Pay attention to the sentences that come up when you make a mistake, when someone criticizes you, or when you feel behind. Do you hear phrases like, typical, I always do this, or of course they chose someone else, or who was I to think I could do that? These are not just passing thoughts. They are clues to your current identity. They show you which version of yourself is still running the show. Once you spot those old lines, you do not have to believe them blindly anymore. You can question them. Ask yourself, where did I learn to think this way about myself? Who said this to me first? Was it a teacher, a parent, a friend, a moment in school, a mistake I made years ago? Then ask an even more important question, are they really qualified to define my entire future? Just because someone spoke out of their own insecurity or limited view does not mean their words deserve to live in your head forever. Rewriting your story does not mean you stand in front of a mirror and repeat things you do not believe. It means you start giving your brain more accurate, empowering information about who you are becoming. Instead of saying, I always fail, you say, I am learning how to succeed, and every attempt teaches me something valuable. Instead of saying, I am not confident, you say, I am building confidence by showing up even when I feel nervous. Instead of saying, I am broken, you say, I am healing, and my past does not cancel my potential. At first, this new language will feel fake. That is normal. Your brain is used to the older script. It has repeated it so many times that it feels like the only truth. But remember, the old story felt true only because it was rehearsed, not because it was accurate. Your new story needs repetition too. Every time you catch yourself slipping into the old narrative, gently correct yourself. Do not attack yourself for thinking those thoughts. Just redirect them. Over time, your inner voice will start to change tone. There is a powerful shift that happens when you move from, this is who I am, to, this is who I am becoming. The first sentence traps you in a fixed box. The second sentence opens a path. You are no longer stuck with your current habits, skills, or reactions. You are a work in progress, and that is not an excuse. It is an invitation. An invitation to see your life as a construction site instead of a finished product. Think about how you would speak to a younger version of yourself. If you saw them struggling, making mistakes, feeling lost, would you call them a failure and tell them they will never get it right? Or would you encourage them, guide them, and remind them that they are allowed to learn? That compassion is what you owe yourself now. Not a free pass to avoid responsibility, but a steady reminder that growth takes time and that you are worth the effort. Your identity is also shaped by what you do repeatedly. Every small promise you keep to yourself is like a vote for a new version of you. When you say, I am someone who takes care of my body, and then actually move your body even for 10 minutes, you give your brain evidence. When you say, I am someone who respects my time, and then stop wasting hours on distractions, you give your brain evidence. When you say, I am someone who finishes what I start, and then complete a task you try to avoid, you give your brain evidence. Eventually, the evidence becomes so strong that you do not have to force the new identity. You feel it. You wake up already seeing yourself differently. You do not have to hype yourself up as much, because your actions and your self-image finally match. And when that happens, solutions feel more natural. You are not fighting against a secret belief that says you cannot. You are moving in alignment with a belief that says you can, and you do. Be careful, though. You are always telling yourself some kind of story, especially when life gets hard. After a setback, you might think, this proves I am not meant for this. That is one story. Or you might think, this proves I need to sharpen my skills and try again. That is another story. The same event, two completely different identities. One keeps you stuck, the other keeps you growing. Ask yourself right now, if my future success depended on the way I talk to myself in private, would I be building it or breaking it? That question is uncomfortable on purpose. It forces you to see whether your inner dialogue is supporting you or slowly eroding your confidence. If the answer is that you have been harsh, negative, or hopeless with yourself, good. Now you know where to start. From this moment forward, practice speaking to yourself like someone you are responsible for. Someone whose life actually matters to you. When you mess up, you take responsibility, yes, but you also offer understanding. When you feel afraid, you acknowledge the fear, but you remind yourself that courage is still available. When you feel behind, you refuse to compare your path to everyone else and instead focus on the next right move for you. The more you align your inner story with the person you want to become, the more your choices will naturally follow. You will start saying yes to things that challenge you and no to things that drain you. You will start creating boundaries that protect your energy. You will start making decisions that reflect your values, not your fears. And slowly, your outer life will begin to match your inner identity. This is not a one-day exercise. It is a daily practice. There will be mornings when the old voice is loud again, trying to pull you back into shame, doubt, or smallness. Do not panic when that happens. It does not mean you are back at zero. It just means you have another chance to practice, to pause, to notice, to choose the story that moves you forward. In the next part, we are going to connect this inner story to your environment. Because you are not just shaped by your thoughts, you are shaped by the people you spend time with, the habits you keep, and the spaces you live in. If your surroundings constantly drag you back into old patterns, it becomes much harder to live out your new identity. So stay with me because we are going to talk about how to design a life around you that supports the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. Your environment is not neutral. It is constantly shaping you, even when you are not paying attention. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the habits you repeat, and the spaces you live in are all sending silent messages about what is normal, what is possible, and what you should expect from yourself. If you are trying to grow while everything around you is pulling you back into old patterns, you will feel like you are fighting against gravity. Think about the people closest to you. Not just the people you love, but the ones you talk to the most, the ones whose opinions actually affect you. When you share an idea or a goal, do they lean in with curiosity and support, or do they immediately list all the reasons it will not work? When you try to improve yourself, do they cheer you on, or do they mock you, roll their eyes, or make small jokes that make you feel foolish for trying? You do not have to cut everyone out of your life, but you do have to be honest about the impact they have on you. If you spend most of your time around people who complain, gossip, and give up whenever things get hard, that mindset will start to feel normal. You will catch yourself joining the conversation, lowering your standards, and talking yourself out of your own potential so you do not make anyone uncomfortable. On the other hand, when you are around people who take responsibility, who set goals, who try, fail, and try again, you start to see that as normal instead. Your environment becomes a mirror that reflects back a stronger version of you. You may not be able to change everyone around you, but you can adjust the weight each person has in your life. If there are people who constantly drain you, you can limit how often you share your dreams with them. You can keep some conversations light and choose to protect your deeper plans. And you can deliberately look for people who challenge you in a healthy way, who call you out when you are making excuses, who remind you of your values when you forget them. In the digital world, this matters just as much. Every time you open your phone, you are walking into a mental environment. The accounts you follow, the videos you watch, the comments you read, they are all shaping your belief about what your life should look like. If your feed is full of drama, comparison, and empty entertainment, you are training your brain to chase distraction instead of direction. You end up measuring your worth by likes and views instead of by the actions you take in your real life. On Momentum Audiobooks, we want your screen time to work for you, not against you. That does not mean you can never relax or watch something just for fun. It means you become intentional about the ratio. Ask yourself, how much of what I consume is feeding my fear, my doubt, my procrastination? And how much is feeding my courage, my knowledge, my sense of possibility? You cannot expect to feel focused and strong if your mind is constantly being flooded with noise that makes you feel smaller. Your physical space also tells a story. Look around the places where you spend most of your time. Your room, your desk, your car, your kitchen. Do these spaces support the person you are becoming, or do they pull you back into chaos? A cluttered environment is not just a mess on the outside. It creates mental clutter on the inside. When everything is scattered, unfinished, and piled up, your brain feels overwhelmed before you even start your day. You do not need a perfect minimalist home to make progress. You just need to ask a different question. How can I shape my space so that the easiest choice is the one that helps my future? If you want to read more, keep a book on your pillow so you see it before bed. If you want to work on a project consistently, leave your tools or your notebook in a visible place instead of hidden in a drawer. If you want to eat healthier, put the foods that support your energy where you can see them first. Small adjustments like this reduce friction between your intentions and your actions. You are not relying only on willpower, which comes and goes. You are designing an environment that quietly nudges you in the right direction. When your space is set up for growth, doing the right thing feels more natural. When your space is set up for distraction, you will always feel like you are swimming against the current. Habits are another huge part of your environment, because they are the invisible routines that structure your day. You might think of habits as actions, but they are also signals. They send a message to your brain about what kind of person you are. If you start your morning by immediately scrolling through your phone, your first message of the day is that your attention belongs to random content. If you start your morning by taking a breath, drinking some water, and moving your body even a little, your first message is that you take care of yourself. You do not have to build a perfect morning routine with 20 steps. Focus on one or two small things that ground you. Maybe it is writing down 3 things you want to focus on today. Maybe it is sitting in silence for a minute and deciding how you want to show up. Maybe it is listening to something that encourages you instead of something that drains you. The point is to start your day as the driver, not as a passenger dragged by notifications and obligations. The same goes for your evening. The way you end the day is like a quiet conversation between you and your future. Do you end it by beating yourself up for everything you did not do? Or do you end it by noticing what you did right, what you learned, and what your next step will be tomorrow? You can literally train your brain to see progress instead of only seeing gaps. This makes it easier to wake up the next day and keep going instead of feeling defeated before you begin. Another piece of your environment that people often ignore is how you manage your time. Your calendar, your schedule, even if it is just in your head, is a reflection of your priorities. If every minute is filled with reacting to what other people want from you, you will never have space to build what matters to you. You might tell yourself you do not have time, but often the real issue is that your time is being spent on autopilot. Take an honest look at how your days are structured. Where are you wasting energy on habits that do not match your values? Where are you saying yes to things that you know are a distraction? Where could you carve out even 30 minutes to move one step closer to your goals? It does not have to be dramatic. Consistency beats intensity when it comes to long-term growth. Remember, Your environment will always win against your intentions if they are in conflict. You can tell yourself you want to focus, but if your phone is constantly buzzing with notifications, your brain will lose that battle again and again. You can say you want to save money, but if your free time is always spent in places that tempt you to spend, you will struggle. You can say you want to be around positive people, but if you never make the effort to find or connect with them, you will default to the same old circles. The good news is that you do not have to change everything overnight. Start with one area. Maybe this week you clean and organize the space where you work or study so that it actually feels like a place where someone serious about their future would sit down. Maybe you unfollow a handful of accounts that make you feel insecure or distracted and replace them with voices that teach, inspire, or challenge you in a good way. Maybe you choose one habit to add to your morning or evening that supports the identity you are building. As you make these changes, you will notice something important. Your willpower does not have to work as hard. You still have to make choices, but you do not feel like you are fighting yourself at every step. Your environment starts to do some of the heavy lifting for you. It reflects the person you are becoming, and in return, it reinforces that identity every time you interact with it. This is why designing your environment is such a powerful act of self-respect. You are sending a message to yourself that your growth matters enough to be built into your world, not squeezed into the leftover moments. You are showing yourself that your dreams are not just ideas in your head, they are real enough to shape your space, your time, and your relationships. In the next part, we are going to bring everything together. You have learned how to shift your focus, how to act before fear takes over, how to take ownership of your reactions, how to rewrite your inner story, and now how to shape an environment that supports who you are becoming. Next, we will talk about how to stay consistent when life gets messy, how to keep going when motivation fades, and how to build a long-term vision that pulls you forward even on the days when you feel tired or doubtful. That is where real momentum is created, and that is where your next level begins. Consistency is not exciting, but it is where almost all of your progress is built. It is easy to take action when you feel inspired, when the music is loud, when a quote hits you at the right moment, or when life finally frustrates you enough that you say, "That's it, I am changing everything." But what happens after that moment passes is what actually decides your future. Do you keep going when the emotion fades, or do you slide back into the old rhythm that kept you stuck? Motivation is a spark, not a power source. It shows up, it lights you up, and then it disappears. If you build your whole life on motivation, you will always be waiting. Waiting for the right mood, the right timing, the right alignment of energy and inspiration. But people who create real change do not wait for the right mood. They build systems that work even on the days when they feel tired, annoyed, or distracted. Think about any result you truly want. Better health, more confidence, a stronger business, deeper relationships, a calmer mind. None of those are created by one huge effort. They are created by small actions, repeated over and over, especially on the days when you do not feel like it. Consistency is not glamorous, but it is powerful. And the good news is, you do not have to be perfect to be consistent. You just have to keep coming back. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that if they miss a day, a week, or even a month, they have ruined everything. So they give up completely. They say, "I fell off, so what's the point?" But that is not how growth works. Growth is not a straight line. It is messy, full of pauses, detours, and restarts. The people who win are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who get back on track faster each time. On Momentum Audiobooks, this is what we are practicing together. Not perfection, but return. The art of returning to the habits, the mindset, and the actions that you know are good for you, no matter how many times you drift away. Every time you come back, you strengthen that identity inside you that says, "I am someone who does not quit on myself." To make consistency easier, you need to lower the barrier between you and the action. Many people set standards that are so high they cannot follow them on a bad day. They say, "I have to work out for an hour," so on the days when they only have 15 minutes, they do nothing. They say, "I have to work 4 hours on my project," so on the days when they only have 1 hour of energy, they give up and scroll. The solution is to design a minimum version of your habits that you can still do on your worst days. For example, your full habit might be going to the gym for an intense session. Your minimum habit might be a 10-minute walk or a simple bodyweight routine at home. Your full habit might be working for several solid hours on your business. Your minimum habit might be sending one important email or making one phone call. Your full habit might be journaling pages every night. Your minimum habit might be writing 3 honest sentences about your day. The point is not to shrink your ambition. The point is to protect your momentum. When you keep your minimum habits alive, you stay connected to your identity. You keep telling your brain, this is who we are. We show up, even if it is small. That way, when your energy comes back, you do not have to start from zero again. You are already in motion. You have kept the door open. Another key to consistency is building routines around triggers you already have. Instead of relying on willpower alone, link your habits to things that happen every day. For example, after you brush your teeth, you do 2 minutes of breathing and set your intention for the day. After you finish lunch, you spend 10 minutes on a learning activity that grows your skills. After you close your laptop at the end of the workday, you take a short walk to reset your mind. These small anchors help your habits stick, because your brain starts to associate one action with the next. There will still be days when everything goes wrong. You wake up late, plans change, emergencies show up out of nowhere. On days like that, the goal is not to crush your routine. The goal is just not to abandon yourself. Maybe all you can do is one tiny action that reminds you of your commitment. That might be enough. It is like placing one brick on a wall you are building, even if you had planned to place 10. One brick is still better than none. Long-term vision is what keeps you showing up like this. If you only think about how you feel today, you will always choose comfort. Comfort now, stress later. But when you zoom out and think in years instead of hours, your choices start to change. You begin to ask, how will this decision feel to me 6 months from now? 1 year from now? 3 years from now? Suddenly, skipping every step that might improve your future does not feel like relief anymore. It feels like theft. A powerful exercise is to imagine your future self as a real person. Picture yourself 5 years from now, living a life that reflects your values. What do your days look like? How do you carry yourself? How do you think, speak, and treat other people? That version of you is not a fantasy. It is the logical result of thousands of small choices made over time. Every time you show up for your habits, even in a small way, you are casting a vote for that future. Ask yourself, what would my future self thank me for doing today? Maybe they would thank you for sending that email that scared you. Maybe they would thank you for saying no to an invitation that drained your energy. Maybe they would thank you for closing your phone and going to bed on time. Maybe they would thank you for studying instead of postponing again. When you act for that future version of you, you feel more purposeful in the present. Of course, there will be seasons when life hits hard. You might face loss, illness, burnout, or unexpected responsibility. In those moments, consistency will look different. It will be softer, more focused on survival and recovery than on high performance. That is okay. You are not a machine. The goal is not to crush every day. The goal is to maintain a relationship with your future, even when times are tough. Sometimes consistency means asking for help instead of pretending you can do everything alone. Sometimes it means taking a break before your body forces you to. Sometimes it means adjusting your goals so they match your reality instead of an idealized fantasy. There is strength in flexibility. Rigidity breaks under pressure. Flexibility bends and then straightens again. When motivation fades, remind yourself why you started. You did not begin this journey just to impress other people. You started because some part of you was tired of living below your potential. Some part of you knew you were capable of more honesty, more courage, more effort, more alignment with your values. Go back to that feeling. Let it speak louder than your excuses. On the days when you feel like quitting, do not make permanent decisions. Treat that day as a test, not a verdict. Tell yourself, today is heavy, so I am going to scale down, not give up. Do the smallest version of your habit. Protect the flame, even if it is tiny. Tomorrow, you can add more wood. Over time, something subtle but powerful will happen. You will stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who shows up. You will trust yourself more, because you have evidence. You will not need external motivation as much, because you have built internal momentum. And when you look back, you will see that the big shifts in your life did not come from rare, dramatic days. They came from ordinary days, where you quietly chose your future over your comfort. In the next part, we are going to talk about setbacks inside this journey of consistency. Because even with a clear vision and solid habits, you will still face periods where progress slows down, plateaus, or even seems to reverse. We will explore how to recognize the difference between true stagnation and invisible growth, and how to keep your belief strong even when the results are not yet visible. That understanding will help you stay in the game long enough to see what you are truly capable of. No matter how committed you are, there will be seasons when your progress feels painfully slow. You will be doing the work, keeping your habits, showing up again and again, and still it will look like nothing is changing. Those are the moments that quietly decide who you become. Not the big, dramatic wins, but the silent weeks and months when you are tempted to think, maybe this is not working. Maybe I am just not meant for this. The first thing you need to understand is that visible results are always delayed. There is a gap between the effort you put in and the proof you can see. Think about going to the gym for the first time after a long break. You can sweat, push yourself, feel sore the next day, and yet the mirror looks almost the same. It would be foolish to decide after 1 week that nothing is happening. Your muscles are changing. Your strength is changing. Your body is adapting under the surface before it shows anything on the outside. The same is true for your mind, your skills, your relationships, your finances, every area of your life. Growth is often invisible at first. You are rewiring habits, learning how to handle stress differently, proving to yourself that you can stay with something longer than you used to. You are building internal foundations that no one else can see. It is like planting a seed. For a while, the only thing visible is the dirt. But under the ground, systems are forming that will eventually support something strong and alive. The danger is that during this invisible phase, your brain will try to play tricks on you. It will say things like, "See, nothing is changing. You are wasting your time. Other people are moving faster. Maybe you should just stop." These thoughts will feel convincing because you are tired and impatient. You want evidence now. You want a clear sign that all this effort is worth it. When you do not see that sign, doubt creeps in. On Momentum Audiobooks, we do not pretend that doubt is something you can simply ignore. Doubt is part of the process. The key is to learn how to respond to it rather than obey it. When you catch yourself thinking, "This is not working," pause and ask, "What am I using to measure progress?" If you only measure by big, dramatic achievements, you will always feel behind. But if you measure by consistency, by small improvements, by increased self-respect, you will find more proof than you think. Start noticing the wins that do not show up on a scale, in a bank account, or on a follower count. Maybe you used to avoid difficult conversations, and now you face them with more honesty. Maybe you used to quit after the first obstacle, and now you push through the second or the third. Maybe you used to drown in self-criticism, and now you catch yourself and shift your self-talk to something more supportive. These are not small things. These are structural changes in your character, and they are the kind of changes that create long-term results. Plateaus are another part of this journey. A plateau is a stretch of time where your results seem to freeze. Athletes know this well. They train hard, improve quickly at first, and then suddenly their progress flatlines. If they misunderstand what is happening, they get frustrated, change everything too quickly, or give up entirely. But if they see the plateau as a normal phase, they use it to refine their technique, strengthen their basics, and prepare their body for the next jump. You will experience plateaus in your personal growth too. Maybe you were feeling more confident for a while, and then you notice that you still get nervous in the same situations. Maybe your business or your skills were improving quickly, and now the numbers are no longer climbing. It is easy to panic and think you are going backwards. But often, you are not regressing. You are consolidating. Your mind and your habits are catching up to the new level you have reached. During these times, do not rush to destroy everything you have built. It can be tempting to completely change your plan, switch strategies every week, or chase something new because it feels fresh. But constantly ripping up your foundations will keep you stuck at the beginning stage forever. Instead, use the plateau as feedback. Ask yourself honest questions. Are my efforts aligned with what I say I want? Do I need to adjust my approach? Do I need more skill, more patience, more rest, more focus? Sometimes the answer is that you are doing the right things and you simply need more time. That is not a comfortable answer, but it is often the true one. You cannot plant a tree on Monday and sit under its shade on Friday. You have to keep watering it in weeks when the sky is empty and the ground looks the same. Your job is not to control the exact timeline. Your job is to keep showing up in a way that you can respect. There will also be times when real setbacks hit you in the middle of your progress. You lose a job. A relationship ends. You get sick. An unexpected problem drains your energy and your attention. In those moments, your progress might actually slow down or even reverse for a while. That does not mean your work was wasted. It means you are human and life is unpredictable. Progress does not disappear because you had to step back. The discipline, self-awareness, and skills you built are still there, waiting for you when you are ready to move again. Instead of asking, "Why am I back at zero?" try asking, "What did I learn last time that will make this round different?" You are not the same person restarting. You now know what your old triggers are. You know what kind of excuses you tend to use. You know which habits helped you and which ones dragged you down. That knowledge lets you move smarter, even if you are moving from a place of exhaustion. One powerful way to keep your belief strong through slow seasons is to track your effort, not just your outcome. Write down the actions you are taking, the habits you are keeping, the ways you are showing up. On days when it feels like nothing is changing, you can look back and see concrete evidence that you are not standing still. You are building something, even if you cannot see its full shape yet. You can also use reflection to remind yourself how far you have already come. Remember the version of you from 1 year ago. How did they think, react, and move through the world? Would that version of you be able to handle what you are handling today? Would they be as consistent as you are now? Often, you will realize that you are living inside an answer to prayers, wishes, or goals you once had. What you consider normal today might have felt impossible a few years ago. On the days when your belief is at its lowest, borrow faith from action instead of emotion. You do not have to feel inspired to do something small in the right direction. You do not have to be certain about the outcome to send one message, practice one skill, or keep one promise to yourself. Let your actions carry your belief instead of waiting for belief to carry your actions. Over time, results will appear, and your faith will grow because you can actually see the impact of your persistence. Another trap to avoid is constant comparison. When your own progress feels slow, it is very easy to obsess over what other people are achieving. You scroll and see someone who seems to be miles ahead of you. You hear about someone who started after you and is already getting the recognition you want. If you are not careful, you will use other people's highlight moments as weapons against your own self-worth. Remind yourself that you never see the full story. You do not see their nights of doubt, their failed attempts, their private struggles, their specific advantages, or the sacrifices happening behind the scenes. You only see the frame of the movie they chose to show. Measuring your entire journey against someone else's edited moment is not just unfair, it is destructive. Your path is unique. Your challenges, your timing, your responsibilities, your starting point, all of it is specific to you. Instead of letting comparison drain you, use it to ask better questions. When you see someone doing what you want to do, instead of thinking, that should be me, try thinking, what can I learn from the way they move? What skills did they clearly build? What habits can I model in my own way? Turn envy into information. Let other people's success expand your sense of what is possible, not shrink your belief that you can reach it too. At Momentum Audiobooks, the goal is not for you to live a life where everything is always accelerating and nothing ever feels slow. That is not real. The goal is for you to become the kind of person who keeps walking with intention, even through the quiet, unspectacular parts of the journey. When things are moving fast, you are grateful and focused. When things are moving slowly, you are patient and focused. In both seasons, you stay connected to your vision. Remember, a slow season is not a dead season. It is often a preparation season. Roots are growing deeper. Your character is being tested and strengthened. Your relationship with yourself is being refined. You are learning how to stay in the game without constant external rewards. And that skill alone is one of the greatest predictors of long-term success in any area of life. In the next part, we are going to talk about how to use gratitude and presence to fuel this entire process. Because without a sense of appreciation for where you are right now, it is very easy to turn self-improvement into self-rejection, to chase a future version of yourself so hard that you forget how to live in the present. We will explore how noticing what is already good in your life can actually make you stronger, more focused, and more resilient as you keep moving toward what is next. Gratitude is not just saying thank you when something goes right. It is a way of looking at your life that changes how you move through every single day. When you practice real gratitude, you are not ignoring your problems. You are refusing to let them be the only thing you see. You are training your mind to notice what is already working, what is already present, what is already a blessing, even while you are still building what comes next. Many people think that if they slow down and feel grateful, they will lose their drive. They worry that if they appreciate what they have, they will stop wanting more. But the opposite is true. Gratitude does not kill ambition. It cleans it. It takes your goals out of the hands of fear, jealousy, and insecurity, and puts them back into the hands of love, purpose, and appreciation. You stop chasing success to prove that you are enough, and you start building success because you already know your life has value. Think about the last time you reached a goal you once really wanted. Maybe it was a grade, a job, a relationship, a number in your bank account, or a change in your body. Remember how important it felt before you reached it, how certain you were that you would finally be happy once you got there. Now be honest. How long did that feeling last? A day? A week? Maybe a month? Eventually, your brain moved the target. The new normal became normal, and you went back to feeling like you needed something more before you could relax. Without gratitude, your life becomes an endless chase. You run from goal to goal, moment to moment, always thinking, I will feel okay when I get there. But there keeps moving. There is always another number, another achievement, another person to impress. Gratitude is what breaks that pattern. Gratitude says, yes, I am moving forward. Yes, I am building more. But I can also feel deeply thankful for what is here right now, even if it is not perfect. On Momentum Audiobooks, we do not talk about gratitude as a cheesy slogan. We treat it as a training. A daily practice that shapes the way you see your life. When you intentionally look for what is good, you are not denying what is hard. You are building emotional strength so that you can face what is hard without collapsing under it. You are reminding yourself that even in the middle of stress, there are still reasons to keep going, still reasons to smile, still reasons to believe that your effort matters. A powerful way to build this muscle is to practice specific gratitude. Not just, I am grateful for my life, but, I am grateful that today I woke up in a bed, that I had food to eat, that I have at least one person who cares about me, that I have a mind that can learn, that I have a body that is still trying for me even when I criticize it. Specific gratitude pulls your attention out of vague ideas and into concrete reality. It shows you that even on a bad day, there are pieces of your life that would be someone else's dream. Presence is deeply connected to gratitude. You cannot be truly grateful if you are never really here. Many people live their entire lives in two places that do not exist anymore: the past and the future. They replay old mistakes, old pain, old conversations they cannot change. Or they live in a future that has not arrived yet, worrying about what might go wrong, fantasizing about what might finally make them happy. Meanwhile, the only moment that is real, the one they are standing in now, slips past almost unnoticed. Presence does not mean you stop planning or learning from your past. It means you bring your attention back to the one place where you can actually act. This moment. Right now, you can choose what you focus on. Right now, you can decide what words you speak, what action you take, what story you tell yourself. When you live in this moment more fully, your life stops feeling like a blur. Little things become richer. A conversation, a meal, a walk outside, a simple breath, all of them become opportunities to feel alive instead of just busy. You might think this sounds nice in theory but impossible in real life. Your mind runs fast. Your responsibilities are heavy. You have a lot going on. That is exactly why presence is so important. It is not a luxury for people with perfect lives. It is a skill for people who are tired of letting stress own them. You do not have to meditate on a mountain for hours to build presence. You can practice in small, simple moments throughout your day. For example, the next time you drink a glass of water, really notice it. Feel the temperature, the way it moves through your body, the fact that you have clean water available at all. The next time you step outside, look up at the sky for a few seconds. Notice the colors, the light, the air on your skin. The next time you talk to someone, put your phone away and listen like they are the only person in the world for that moment. These tiny shifts pull you back into your life instead of letting your mind live somewhere else. Gratitude and presence also protect you from one of the most subtle forms of self-harm, turning self-improvement into constant self-rejection. If you are not careful, your entire growth journey can become one long message to yourself that says, "You are not enough." You always see what is missing. You always focus on what still needs work. You forget to notice what you have already survived, already learned, already changed. Eventually, your goals feel heavy, not inspiring. Your dreams feel like pressure, not possibility. When you bring gratitude into your growth, that changes. You can say, "I am proud of how far I have come, and I am excited for where I am going." You can celebrate small wins without pretending you are done. You can look in the mirror and appreciate the person who is trying, not just criticize the person who is not perfect. This does not make you soft. It makes you stronger, because a person who feels valued is much more likely to keep going than a person who feels constantly judged. Try this simple exercise for a week. At the end of each day, before you go to sleep, ask yourself 3 questions. First, what am I grateful for today? Second, what did I do today that I am proud of, even if it was small? Third, what did today teach me that I can use tomorrow? You do not need long answers. 1 sentence for each is enough. Over time, this practice will train your brain to end the day in a state of appreciation instead of regret. You might notice something surprising when you do this. Some of the things you are most grateful for were not even part of your original plan. A conversation you did not expect. A moment of rest you were forced to take. A challenge that pushed you to grow in a way you did not see coming. Gratitude opens your eyes to the fact that life is not only about what you make happen. It is also about what you receive, what you notice, and how you choose to interpret what shows up. Presence also helps you stay out of the trap of living only for someday. Someday when you have more money. Someday when you look different. Someday when your life is less chaotic. Someday when people finally understand you. If you are not careful, you will spend your entire existence waiting for that someday, only to realize that your real life was happening in all the moments you were ignoring. On Momentum Audiobooks, we want you to build an amazing future, but we also want you to actually live the days between now and that future. We want you to be able to say, "Yes, I was growing, I was working, I was upgrading my life, but I was also awake. I was there. I remember laughing. I remember resting. I remember noticing small details that made me feel grateful to be alive. That kind of life is not about perfection. It is about presence. Gratitude and presence do not remove your problems, but they change your posture toward them. Instead of feeling like a powerless victim of everything that goes wrong, you begin to see that even in difficult seasons, there are things you can still appreciate. Support you still have. Strengths you still carry. Moments of beauty that still exist all around you. That awareness gives you fuel. It gives you reasons to keep fighting for better days without hating the one you are currently in. You can be frustrated and grateful at the same time. You can want change and still appreciate what is. You can hold sadness in one hand and thankfulness in the other. Human beings are capable of feeling more than one thing at once. When you allow that complexity, you stop waiting for a perfect emotional state before you allow yourself to be present. You live fully, even in the tension. If you start to see your entire journey through the lens of gratitude and presence, your relationship with solutions also changes. You are no longer trying to fix your life because you believe it is completely broken. You are looking for solutions because you respect your life too much to leave it on autopilot. You are not running from your current reality. You are walking with it, learning from it, and shaping it little by little. Right now, as you listen to this, take one slow breath. Inhale. Exhale. Notice the fact that you are still here. That your story is not finished. That there are chapters ahead of you that you have not even imagined yet. You have survived every bad day so far. You have adapted to changes you did not see coming. You have already done hard things that a past version of you did not think they could handle. That alone is a reason to feel grateful for the strength you often forget you have. From this place of gratitude and presence, your next actions become more powerful. You are not just reacting out of panic or insecurity. You are choosing from a grounded state. You are saying, I am thankful for my life as it is, and because I am thankful, I will take responsibility for what I do next. That is a very different energy than, I hate everything about my life, so I guess I should try to fix it. One leads to sustainable growth. The other leads to burnout. In the final part of the series, we are going to gather all of these pieces into one clear message you can carry with you. We will revisit the power of focusing on solutions over problems, the courage to act before fear takes over, the strength of taking responsibility, the importance of rewriting your story, the influence of your environment, the magic of consistency, the reality of slow seasons, and now the fuel of gratitude and presence. All of it is leading to one simple truth. You have far more power over the direction of your life than you have been taught to believe. And your next chapter can start much sooner than you think, if you decide to begin now. If you have made it this far, there is a reason. Some part of you is done living the same day on repeat. Some part of you is tired of feeling like life is just happening to you while your potential sits in the background, waiting. This entire journey has not been about turning you into a different person. It has been about reminding you of the power you have had all along and showing you how to use it on purpose. You have seen that your attention is not a small thing. It is the steering wheel of your life. Wherever you point it, your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to follow. When your focus is locked on problems, everything feels heavier. You feel stuck, powerless, and overwhelmed. But when you shift that focus toward solutions, toward possibilities, toward your next move, your entire experience changes, even if your circumstances do not. You are no longer just asking, why is this happening to me? You are asking, what can I do with this? You have learned that fear is fast, but it does not have to be final. That feeling that shows up in your chest when you are about to take a risk, send a message, try something new, or show more of who you really are, does not mean stop. It means you are standing at the edge of a new chapter. If you wait for fear to leave before you move, you will wait forever. But when you count down, act quickly, and move before fear builds its full story, you prove to yourself again and again that you are capable of more than your doubts say. You have seen that responsibility is not a punishment. It is a doorway. Blame will keep you comfortable for a moment, but it will chain your future to someone else's decisions. Responsibility can sting at first, because it asks you to look at your own choices without excuses. But it also gives you back control. When you say, "This is my life, and I am responsible for what I do next," you stop waiting for rescue. You become the one who builds the bridge instead of the one who stands at the edge hoping someone will carry you across. You have discovered that your identity is not carved in stone. It is a story, and stories can be edited. The labels you picked up along the way, the names you were called, the roles you learned to play, they may have shaped you, but they do not have to define the rest of your days. Every time you question an old belief like, "I always fail," and replace it with, "I am learning how to succeed," you are not lying to yourself. You are choosing a more accurate, more powerful way to describe the person you are becoming. You now know that your environment is not just a backdrop. It is a silent teacher. The people you keep close, the content you consume, the habits you repeat, the way your space is organized, all whisper to you about what is normal. When you actively shape that environment to support your growth, the right choices become easier. You are not relying only on massive willpower. You are building a life where your surroundings push you forward instead of pulling you back. You have understood that consistency beats intensity. Big bursts of effort feel impressive, but they are not what change a life. What really reshapes you are the small decisions, repeated quietly, when no one is watching. The days when you show up, even for 10 minutes, instead of throwing the entire plan away. The nights when you write a few lines, read a few pages, stretch a few minutes, instead of pretending that doing nothing does not matter. It all matters. Your future is being built brick by brick. You have seen that plateaus and slow seasons are not proof that you are failing. They are proof that you are human. Progress will not always be loud. Sometimes it is a subtle shift in how you react, a calmer response in a situation that used to explode you, a bit more honesty in a conversation you used to avoid. These are wins. They are signs that your inner wiring is changing. And if you keep going through the quiet seasons, results will catch up to the work you have been doing. You have learned that gratitude and presence are not just nice ideas. They are survival skills. Without them, growth turns into a constant attack on yourself, a never-ending list of reasons you are not enough. With them, growth becomes an act of respect for the life you already have. You move forward not because you hate where you are, but because you care about where you are going. You build a future while still noticing the small moments of beauty, connection, and strength that are already here. All of this leads to one core truth: solutions are not just strategies. They are a way of living. Focusing on solutions does not mean you never feel pain, fear, or frustration. It means you refuse to end the story there. You allow yourself to feel what you feel, and then you ask, what now? What is one thing I can do? What is one person I can talk to? What is one habit I can change? What is one thought I can question? You do not wait until you have the perfect plan. You honor your life enough to take the next imperfect step. On Momentum Audiobooks, this is what we want to keep reminding you of: you and your choices are not small. The way you think, the way you respond, the way you treat your time, they are all casting votes for the kind of future you will live in. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you have far more influence over your path than you have been taught to believe. And the moment you truly accept that, you stop living like a passenger and start moving like a creator. So what does it look like, practically, to live this out after this video ends? It does not mean you overhaul your entire life in one dramatic moment. It means you pick one area, one problem, one habit, and you apply what you have learned. Maybe you decide that for the next week, every time your mind starts looping on a problem, you will interrupt it with the question, what is one solution I have not tried yet? Maybe you decide that every time fear tells you to wait, you will do something small within 5 seconds. Maybe you commit to ending each day by noticing one thing you did well instead of only pointing out what you missed. It will not be perfect. You will still have days where you complain, where you slip, where you forget everything you heard here and fall back into old patterns. That does not mean you have failed. It means you are a person in progress. When you notice yourself drifting, do the most powerful thing you can do: Return. Return to better questions. Return to ownership. Return to your future self. Return to gratitude. That act of returning is where your strength is built. You do not need anyone's permission to start living this way. You do not need the people around you to understand your change before you begin. You do not need a guarantee that everything will work out exactly as you imagine. All you need is the willingness to stop telling yourself that you are stuck and start acting like your choices matter. Because they do. They always have. Take a moment and imagine your life 1 year from now if you actually applied these ideas. If you focused more on solutions than on drama. If you acted a little faster than your fear. If you took responsibility for your reactions instead of giving that power away. If you spoke to yourself like someone you wanted to see win. If you shaped your environment to support your growth. If you showed up more often than you disappeared. If you stayed patient in slow seasons and grateful in every season. That life is not as far away as it feels. It is hiding inside ordinary days that look just like today. It is inside the choice you make after this video ends. Will you scroll to the next distraction and forget what you heard, or will you pause, breathe, and decide on one clear action you will take before the day is over? Send the message. Start the page. Clean the corner of your space you have been ignoring. Write down the thought you are ready to let go of. Begin somewhere real. Your life will change in proportion to the amount of responsibility you are willing to take for it. Not the fake kind that beats you up for every mistake, but the powerful kind that says, "This is my story, and I refuse to live it on autopilot anymore." Problems will still come. Challenges will still appear. But you will meet them with a different posture. You will not collapse in front of them. You will stand up, feel everything you need to feel, and then look for the path forward. If no one has told you this in a while, hear it now. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not stuck forever. You are at a crossroads, and that is a powerful place to be. From here, you can keep replaying the same chapter, or you can start writing the next one. No one else can make that decision for you. But the fact that you are still listening, still seeking, still thinking about your future, is proof that you are ready for more. When this video ends, your real work begins. Not because you owe the world some perfect version of yourself, but because you owe yourself an honest chance to see what you are capable of when you stop living as if your choices do not count. Focus on solutions. Own your reactions. Move with courage even when it shakes you. Shape the story you tell yourself. Guard your environment. Honor your consistency. Respect your slow seasons. Stay grateful and present as you go. And then, one day, you will look back and realize that the moment things truly started to change was not when life suddenly became easier. It was when you quietly decided, "From today on, I am going to live as if my actions matter. I am going to live as if I have a say in where my life goes." That decision is available to you right now. You do not have to announce it to anyone. You just have to live it. Starting today. Starting now.